All right, so this Tuesday, tomorrow, because this video will go live on Monday, we'll have an update in Destiny 2, and it's gonna have a little bit of some tuning there. I'm not gonna go through the entire Twitter twab that they did talk about this past Thursday, but this past Tuesday on the live stream, they did talk about they were eventually gonna probably look at nerfing Steel Hunt, and it's coming. So Steel Hunt is going to get a little bit of a nerf. It's not going to be a disaster, I don't think, and I'll get into a little bit of the artifact, but the other thing I'm going to really focus on in this video is what will also be getting nerfed going forward. Yeah, there's some really strong stuff out there. So, Steel Hunt, if you don't know, we'll just address this real quick. We'll be reducing Steel Hunt's golden gun shot damage when paired with Celestial Nighthawk by 25%. So that is basically going to be the nerf. So it's going to be the part that pairs with Celestial, and you get the one super shot. Just the one. This still might not be a bad thing. It's still pretty good because you're getting off, I mean, quite a bit of the damage in just one shot. So I'm sure people will be out there damage chesting that like almost immediately to see the viability of it. But also, Tuesday, we will get the new sniper rifle mods that will be coming along with Act 2 in the first episode. And I'm not going to go through all of these different sniper mods that we're going to get, but they will be in addition to the ones that we already have. So they're not going to replace any. They're just going to add on a row at the bottom of the artifact mods. And there you go. We're going to get these 5 additional ones that they synergize really well around, you know, some solar scavenger, right? You got some scavenger, but kind of like just the solar and sniper rifle kind of area, right? You're going to get anti-barrier sniper. And then incendiary rifle rounds. Solar sniper rifle precision hits, scorch targets. Be curious to see how many that takes to get off an ignition, and if it, you know, also synergizes and stacks with Touch of Embers. Solar fulmination, your ignitions do increase damage and increase radius. And then there's sniper meditation. Sniper rifle hits grant stacking sniper rifle damage, stability, and reload speed bonuses for a short time. Heavy ammo sniper rifle hits count more than 1. So, could be interesting there with Whisper the Worm. Rapid fire sniper rifles also might be really solid. I was actually dusting off my Iclos sniper this week. All this might pair very nicely together. But what else is pretty oppressive out there in the Destiny universe? And one of those is Outbreak Perfected. Yes, Outbreak Perfected. Kind of oppressive right now, and it is really good. And the reason why I say that this will probably be one that's going to be getting nerfed soon, and we talk about how it's going to get nerfed, that's kind of the other thing. It's just an idea of what they might do, is really whenever you do a looking for group and you do a no mic looking for group and everybody already has like the best gun, everybody's using one weapon, it's kind of easy to tell that that is a very overpowered weapon. And especially if it's the same weapon across multiple weeks. Like there's one week where just like one weapon does really good in that GM, you know, maybe not a big deal. But if it's the same weapon across multiple weeks and everybody's using it, it's pretty impressive. And the part that's really kind of the issue with Outbreak Perfected is how the Siva nanites stack. And since we got the craftable version in Season 23, the super solid perk of Rewind Rounds, I think I actually got that right, Rewind Rounds is actually pretty strong with this because it allows you to get off more shots before you have to reload. And it allows you to get more nanites onto the target that you're hitting. So like a lot of GM bosses and other like mini bosses and stuff like that that are in these GMs, it makes it kind of trivial. It's not much of a challenge if the 3 people in the group are just mowing everything down with Outbreak Perfected. There's been times I've gone through GMs and I only use Outbreak Perfected. It's that strong. Outside of having to stun like maybe an Overload or an Unstoppable, outside of that, I mean, it was just primarily Outbreak Perfected. So that would probably be the part that they do kind of look at. And just so you know, if you're not totally aware, the Corruption Spreads is the weapon perk. The weapon creates Siva Nanite, swarms on rapid hits, and precision kills. The other part to this is the Catalyst, and the Catalyst actually creates more nanites. So on rapid hits or precision kills. So you get more nanites out of proccing it. I actually don't know what the difference is between before and after the Catalyst. I probably looked it up, but I know after the Catalyst, it will pop out 10 of those nanites. Okay? So 10 of those nanites will pop out, and that creates the stacking buff whenever they get attached to a target. And you shoot that target with Outbreak Perfected. So you can get that damage stack kind of elevated rather quickly if you have 3 of these kind of all focused on one target. It's not even talking about 6 of them. If you're doing like a raid type content, this is really good in some raid content as well. So you can see here, just looking at DestinyTracker.com, for the PvE side, it is not filtering out by any other kind of metric like any other game mode or anything like that. You can see Outbreak Perfected is kind of on the higher end. It's up there. And taking a look at scored Nightfall strikes, so basically be like your GM type of Nightfalls, you can see Outbreak Perfected really kind of up at the higher end as well. So that just kind of tells you where, Outbreak Perfected kind of is. So let's talk about the 3 or a few different ways of maybe Bungie might look to kind of tweak them. One of the ways that actually they could look to change this is to kind of mess around with the nanites. I don't think they'll go this route, mostly because if they go this route, that's more of an animation thing. I don't think they really would want to mess around with animation all that much. I think they could probably get by without messing around with animation. The second way that they could mess around with this, and I think it might be a combination of second and third that I'll mention here. The second way is they could shorten the amount of time that nanites actually stay attached to the target, which would then lower, how long you'd be able to stack all the nanites on a target. The third possible way is they could also lower the damage multiplier for how many nanites you do have attached to a target. I do not have the damage numbers. It is really tough to see what one nanite does. I'm sure you could probably break it down by just seeing, how many attached to the second target or just attached to a big target you're doing, and just kind of reduce out and divide out. But I'm not going to worry about doing all that. They could, because they know that, and they could probably just reduce that maybe by 10%. So if they reduce that damage multiplier by 10%, and how long nanites stay attached to targets by 10%, that might be somewhat decent nerf, right? That could be somewhat decent. So that would be kind of my idea of the direction they would take it. It's probably some combination of reducing damage multiplier for nanite stacking, and or reducing the time the nanites are attached to your target, because that is the issue. The issue is with rewind rounds. We haven't had that issue before, because before we had the craftable version, we only had the outlaw version of Outbreak Perfected, and that is the only variant that we had. Now that we got the rewind round version, most people are only using rewind rounds, unless maybe PvP mains or something like that, which I don't know. I think there's probably better ways to go. So that's just kind of my idea. Probably some combination of the damage multiplier and how long nanites probably stay attached to bosses or high level enemies probably gets reduced. The other weapon that probably will be getting nerfed, it's more of an archetype, and we actually already did see it very briefly when we look at some statistics, is the rocket-assisted frame sidearms. Yeah, these guys are pretty strong, not gonna lie. There's currently 2 out. You have Indebted Kindness, which drops from the Warlord's Ruin dungeon, and you have the Call, which drops from the Pale Heart, and you can craft that one. Now, a lot of people have the Call because, well, you play through the Pale Heart campaign, and you can get it. Not a lot of people go through and play dungeons, or have the dungeon keys to go play dungeons. So, you'd be surprised how many people don't have the Indebted Kindness sidearm. But the Call is pretty solid, and so is Indebted Kindness, and we're going to get a third one coming up on Tuesday, and that one is called Aberrant Action. It'll be a solar, seasonal, craftable, rocket-assisted frame sidearm. So, that'll be what is coming this Tuesday. I'd imagine a lot of people are going to be getting their hands on it. So we will be having 3 of these in the game. And if we want to take a look at some weapon usage stats, you know, we kind of already looked at this. In the PvE area, the Call and Indebted Kindness are at the top. I mean, they are really strong. And if you want to know kind of on kind of the level that they're doing damage, they are doing damage pretty comparable to like a slug shotgun. But they have fantastic range. They have a little bit of tracking, and they have a crazy amount of ammo, which makes them very viable for a lot of different activities. Now, in comparing the damage to, you know, slug shotguns, I'm not comparing the precision because, you know, the rocket assisted frames, you know, it's very difficult to get precision hits. I'm more of talking about just hitting a non-precision hit on an enemy, and they do very comparable damage to a slug shotgun not hitting precision. So you're able to take that damage and then now push it out even farther with how far that these archetype, how far this archetype can shoot, makes them very good. Now, some of the different ways I think they probably will mess around with these. I mean, there's a few different ways they can go. One way that they could actually go is they could reduce the damage. I don't know, maybe like 10% or so. It doesn't really need to be that strong, but I don't think that's the direction they will go. And I don't think they're going to nerf them, by the way. I don't think they'll nerf the rocket assisted frame until we get to maybe episode 2. Because they want people to play through Act 2 to make sure they get the new solar rocket assisted frame, the Aberrant Action. So I would expect no changes to probably come for this archetype until we get to probably like episode 2. And at that point in time, I would expect some kind of change. I would imagine we probably see one of 2 changes. Damage is one that, you know, we could definitely see a little bit of a reduction in damage. I think probably the main thing that makes the most sense to me is to see a reduction on inventory. I think if they reduce the inventory, maybe like 10-15%, I think that would make it a little bit more, you know, a little bit more of a trade-off. But because people use these so much because there's so much, they have so much inventory. And, you know, for how much they can do damage at range, and they have a little bit of tracking, the ease of use, all of that, it just makes them too easy to kind of use. So I think if you scaled back a little bit on the reserves, I think you might be in a little bit better of a sweet spot, and they wouldn't just be dominating PvE as much as they are. So those are the 2 things I kind of wanted to mention on probably some nerfs coming down the line. We'll see when they do come, but I would imagine, and most people probably do expect some kind of changes for Outbreak Perfected and the Rocket Assisted Sidearms coming sometime down the line. Alrighty, take care.